It's Tuesday, March 3rd. Welcome to Scouting the League. It is Combine Cleanup Day. There is a ton of silliness that always comes out of Indy, both during and post Combine. I can promise you teams do ignore it, though it does not make a scout's job any easier. From workouts to interviews, all that happens when the NFL cameras are not on is what really matters. We'll talk about some of that today. Make sure, though, you tune in tomorrow as Jordan Reed of ESPN joins both Neil and I to talk prospects in this 2026 draft. We talk some fallout from the Combine, how free agency may affect some of these prospects, and who really helped themselves out and really who solidified that spot on the board. With the Combine in, more data is done, and the next phase of the process starts now. So, again, really going to be excited to talk with Jordan. A great chance, great guy, great evaluator. So make sure you tune in. Thursday, I dive deep into pro days, what they are all about. Again, we used to be one of my favorite times of the year on the scouting calendar. So make sure you tune in for that one. Before we clean up on the Combine, though, make sure you head over and like, subscribe, share this podcast wherever you're listening and watching it. That subscribe button is our best friend. Make sure you hit it. Let us know that you're tuning in wherever you are at. Share this podcast with a friend. Let them know that they can learn more on the Scouting the League podcast about what actually goes on in scouting than anywhere else out there, as Neil, as everybody we have on peels the curtain back on the scouting process. Make sure you head over, follow me on Twitter at RightStepADV. Check out my website, rsafootball.com, for everything that I have been in through and all that I do for those in the football world. If you're a scout or aspiring scout, make sure you check out thescoutingcommunity.com. Hit me a message to find out more about either of those. And if you need those insoles that will upgrade every pair of shoes you wear, upgrade your performance at every pro day coming up, it is bluemaca.com. That's where you want to head. Use code Scouting20 at checkout. Check the show notes for that link as well as that code, bluemaca.com. The insoles that will not just take your shoes and make them good shoes, they are the insoles that will upgrade every pair of shoes you have. So the Combine is done. NFL scouts are either taking a quick break back home before getting back out, or as Midwest scouts often do, head on down the road for that pro day cycle. For me in the Midwest, it used to be Ball State, used to be Cincinnati, used to be Purdue, were some of those early schools on the calendar. You could just leave from Indy, maybe stay an extra night, maybe get all the way to the end before you head on the road, start hitting those pro days. But again, really fun time of the year. It is another spot, much like the NFL Combine, where scouts are looking to answer more questions. Again, questions for guys that were not at the Combine, or additional questions for guys that were at the Combine. Again, we will talk all about that on Thursday with our pro day. But again, that's really the next spot along the way. Every prospect is a giant jigsaw puzzle. For a long time, that is the way I've described it, the way it's been talked about. Mentors, people that I have put a lot of stock into, again, they talk about it in the same way. Every athlete is their own puzzle. The games, their on-field play, every snap of their college career makes up most of that picture. With 10, 15, 20 games over a career, at some point you're going to watch every snap, both offense, defense, special teams. That gives you a really good sense for what that picture is. But in almost every case, there is still more out there. There is medical, there is character, there's background, there's everything else that helps define and really give you the full, clean 1080p view of that picture of that prospect. Again, for every NFL franchise, you typically make decisions in kind of 3-year windows. You project everything out year 1, year 2, year 3 with draft picks, at least 4 years on a contract. That's going to be the meat of that decision, which is why hitting on draft picks, spending so much time getting these guys right, is so essential. Again, fit matters, coaching matters, the person, the athlete matters. Everything matters for every prospect, which is why no decisions are being made here on March 3rd, March 5th, the end of March. We're taking it all the way till draft time. We're going to gather as much information as we can. Again, there's no point, no need in trying to, cross T's, dot I's, and finish reports prior to really the week before. Really, sometimes for some prospects, it is about draft Thursday, Friday, Saturday of the draft to get all those final questions answered. You better have them done, because when that GM calls on you as an area scout, regional, national guy, you better have those answers. But again, take the time you are. And again, the combine is one part of that process. Again, but you think about it, over 300 players at the combine, only 250 some draft picks. Again, probably 200 of those will actually get drafted, which means you're going to get 50 non-combine invites, give or take. Probably not quite that high a number. But again, you're going to have players that didn't go to the combine that will get drafted. Not everyone worked out, of course. Not everyone needed to. Again, always part of the combine. If you head back pre-combine scouting the league I talk about, again, for every prospect, there are different pieces that matter. For some guys, you want them to work out. You need to see them run a 40. You need to see them change directions. You need to see them do some of these drills to help answer some questions, whether it's schematically, whether it's what a college did not ask them to do as part of their scheme, whether it's a position conversion, whether it's, hey, they just didn't have a ton of chances to get off the ball, to run, to open up their gate. For whatever reason it is, you want and need to see these players. For some guys, again, you've got several years of film to answer all those questions. You can find every cut up, every snap. You can dig in on the data. You can find the snaps that they had. They don't have a lot of questions to answer, which, of course, is why everything that doesn't happen on the field at Indy is just as important. Again, you're starting with measurements. Measurements are important. Again, for a lot of these players, again, they went through the process with NFS or Blesto back in the spring of 2025 to get some initial verified measurable. Verified as opposed to estimates, which again, for players that are late to the process, maybe transferred, maybe got lost somewhere in the mix, again, an estimate becomes a verified at the combine. It becomes another verified. Again, we're going to see and hear all about wow, he had a half-inch difference or a quarter-inch difference. Again, yeah, he's in the ballpark. Quarter inch probably doesn't matter that much. Again, that may just be the stretch. That may be the measurement guy. That may be whoever it was. Again, hopefully you're not getting more than about a half inch of variation. Half inch, again, it can matter a little bit. But again, at the end of the day, short-armed guys are short-armed, long-armed guys are long-armed, and everybody else fits in the fat part of the bell curve. A player like Ruben Bain does not. Everybody knew he was going to be short-armed. NFL teams were not surprised. Yeah, if you're a top 10 pick, if you're really in that 5 to 10 range, you would love for him to be a little bit longer because, again, it's easier to answer that question. Put on the film. That is always going to be the answer for a guy like Ruben Bain. Put on the film. But maybe what it forces you to do when that number comes back is, all right, who did he play this year that was the longest tackle? Now that we have, again, verifieds on these guys, or maybe you go back to 2025 or 2024 fall film. Let's put on Ruben Bain in 2024 against the longest armed players and see how he competes, see how he does. We have verified, maybe at this point on those guys too. So again, let's find him battling against other long verified players. And again, let's see how he shows up. If he continues to dominate, yeah, guess what? He does. Dominates against everybody. Let's call Miami. Hey, yeah, you got your big offensive left tackle down there that's got longer arms than anybody knows what to do with. Let's see if Miami will send us some practice cut-up film of him going against his own guys that, again, we know were 35-plus inch. But yeah, guess what? Still dominating, still doing his thing. So again, for a guy like Ruben Bain, it forces you to do maybe an extra cut up, maybe to do an extra work, maybe put an extra feather in that cap in his answer. But again, at the end of the day, no one is surprised with Ruben Bain's arm length. Again, if anybody that acts like they're shocked, again, probably needs to be going through the scouting process again as well. Scouts love to see everybody compete side to side. Again, for some, though, on the field, that there's just no upside. There's no reason. Not until they get paid. Again, something we'll talk about maybe at some point. What should the combine be doing to incentivize these players? But again, we'll talk about that a little bit as we go. But again, media interviews, again, another one of those spots that, again, doesn't ultimately matter. Stand up in front of the media, have fun. It's some of the training. So many colleges are putting guys through that media training. These players that are the best on their team, they've probably sat and done a lot of media interviews. Whether you like their personality, you like their delivery, again, can they do it? Are they going to embarrass the franchise? That's really all we want to know. And again, that answer is that question's probably been answered already. The important interviews are what happens where no cameras are available. Back in team meeting rooms with scouts, with coaches, in the train station, in informals, all that kind of stuff where players are one-on-one getting to know the coach that could have them in their position room. That is what matters. Find out the way they talk ball, to kind of find out what makes them tick, what motivates them. Again, oftentimes, most of the time, it's just verification of what the scouts have already put in their reports from the fall that the coaches have read. Hey, it's just a more verification. Maybe it's, hey, it's kind of one of these two things. Find out the answer. That is all part of it for the scouts, for the coaches, for front office execs. The medical, of course, we talk about how much that matters for certain players. Again, top round guys, you sometimes choose to just live with a known medical issue. For guys down the line, again, maybe it's, hey, we do need to get another answer on this player between now and draft. Now, hey, something showed up. Let's run some more tests. Let's get him with our doctors. Let's get him in our bed. Again, all those things matter. Again, there have been times where it is an initial flag for a player and an agent. Hey, this has never showed up before. This may be the most thorough medical testing a player's ever gone through. Something pops up that can help benefit the player. They know about it now. They can get it dealt with. Test taking. One of the big things that happens behind the scenes, whatever the test name is, whatever the results are, again, more often than not, it's verification of what scouts and what teams knew about them in the process. Again, whether it's how they learn, what the right way to present information is, what it comes down to a lot of time is, hey, is this guy a visual learner? Is this guy hands-on learner? Is he a film learner? Again, forget how smart, how much intelligence, what their IQ is. How does this player learn? That is what teams want to know. That's one of the great things that can happen through this process. One of the interesting things that has continued to happen with not only the East, West, and Senior Bowl, now at the Combine, is players that have some personality and get that out front are certainly reaping the benefits of the process. If I'm an agent for maybe a mid-round to late day three offensive lineman, I am doing everything I can to tell my guy to grow a mullet, grow a mustache, have some big piece of personality out front. Again, we've seen it the last 3 or 4 draft cycles where that guy becomes the face of the offensive line group. Again, does it matter and affect scouts? No, but it affects those that have sometimes sway with the ownership group, which can certainly affect top rounds. Again, one of the ugly parts, maybe a hard to swallow part of this draft process. Again, whatever the owner says, it's his team. He's writing the checks. Hopefully that ownership group has a really good relationship with the GM and is going to let the GM make the football decisions. But again, there have certainly been times where that personality just becomes so big and so apparent through the process that it's going to help a player out, gets a coach on his side. Coaches start driving the train because of just all that they see, all that's in your face. They like the personality, let that personality come through. It's always something that's talked about in that pre-draft process. I have never also heard anybody, any scout, any person with an NFL team say is a quote unquote easier position to scout. The only answer I've ever heard from somebody in a football building is, yeah, there's no easy position to scout. There's no easy player to scout. There's guys that don't have a ton of questions. But again, that just means as a scout, you have to work harder to try to uncover any questions. Just because a guy seems like, hey, everything's buttoned up. He comes from a good school, good family, no medical, again, clean production, clean profile. Again, you still better be digging because all of a sudden that guy's going to have something pop up in the process where it's, hey, we better research this a little bit more. There is no easy prospect. There is no easier position group to evaluate, to look at. Again, if it was easier, the NFL as a whole would have a high hit rate on that position. And we know the hit rate for, again, different franchises is different because they have stable front offices, stable coaching staffs. Again, that's a completely different argument. There's no easier position. That's always one of those things that comes out at the Combine, is everybody that fancies themselves an evaluator wants to, put feathers in their cap, feel good about their process, bump up their resume a little bit. But again, NFL scouts had a hard job that has only gotten harder as the Combine has lost some of its context, has been changed for media purposes, for all that it has become. Again, At the end of the day, a good NFL, a TV rich NFL process has helped scouts, has given jobs. But at the end of the day, if you don't, it has cannibalized itself. And that's one of the things that really showed up in both conversations and everything that happened in Indianapolis is the NFL seems to be cannibalizing their own product. Again, it's something I heard from scouts, from agents, from other people at the combine. It seemed like there were less fans. It seemed like, or not less fans, less football people. The fans, again, we saw the full bunch of people booing prospects in the stadium. Again, all that's well and good. Again, we're not talking fans, we're talking football people, scouts, agents. Again, teams are sending less people to Indy because it has become so much less about what scouts and teams need, more about what's going to help the TV, what's going to help the loudest voices at the league office. Again, scouts are frustrated with the combine. Again, that kind of is one of those things. There's scouts that love the combine, scouts that hate the combine. Everybody is a little bit frustrated with the combine. A hard job to do has become harder, and where the combine used to be a really good spot for scouts and teams, coaches to do their work, to find more answers, that's no longer the case. Both the schedule, the template, the way everything is done, the way everything is split, it has not gotten easier, which means it becomes a longer process. There's more frustration, ultimately probably a higher miss rate for NFL teams because, again, the NFL has made it harder for NFL teams and scouts to get answers. And again, one of the really sole spots that they used to happen was a combine, certainly hasn't been that way. Again, whether it needs to be pushed back from GMs, from coaches, from the scouting community, from agents, I'm happy to lead the charge. Give me a call. Hit me up at RightStepADV. Let me know the biggest pain points. If you are there, if you're a part of the process, if you're trying to get athletes through, if you're a scout trying to get information, what are the pain points that I haven't heard that we need to take to the league office? Because something has to happen. Honestly, the combine needs to stay in Indy. It needs to stay in Indianapolis. It needs to get a little bit of that old school feel back. Forget the TV. The TV is going to be fine. There are plenty of ways to do the TV, but you've got to get participation rates back up. You've got to find incentive for players to do that. You've got to find incentive for scouts and NFL teams to send people, to stay, and to do all their work. The combine is an absolute thing of beauty, an unbelievable chance for scouts, teams, players, agents, everyone to get a lot of work done in a really tidy week. But if we continue to get away from it, and my feedback is that's what the combine has done, we're going in the wrong direction. We got to bring it back. So let me know what you think at RightStepADV. Let's try to answer the question. Let's continue to develop and make the NFL the greatest game, even better than it already is. Again, let's not regress. Let's not go backwards. All of it's about making football great. So tune in tomorrow for our conversation with Jordan Reed. Thursday, all about pro days. All things draft this time of year, though free agency is right around the corner. We will certainly talk about that. Plenty to do. So, here at Scouting the League, we will keep scouting.